I just want you to give yourselves a hand. You have been awesome today. Thank you so much for coming out and staying to the end, showing your commitment. Our final speaker, I'm so proud to introduce her, is the Executive Director of the Rhode Island chapter of Coyote, which stands for Call Off Your Old Tired Ethics. They are a group of current and former sex workers, sex trafficking victims, and their allies working towards safety and protection in New England's sex industry. They also work with Rhode Island's homeless and immigrant populations. She is currently networking with local organizations to create Alliance to Mobilize Our Resistance. The acronym is AMOR, which will be a rapid response team to victims of hate crimes. Please welcome Bella Robinson.
Anyway, my name is Bella, and I want to use my privilege today to talk about some of the most vulnerable and marginalized women in Rhode Island. Homeless women, immigrant women, women of color, poor women, transgender women, and sex workers. And since this rally is to honor and celebrate Women's History Month, I wanted to remind everyone about some of our women's history that's been whitewashed over the years. 19th century prostitutes were among the freest, wealthiest, most educated women of their time. Many of them were so wealthy that they funded irrigation and road building projects that laid the foundation for the New West. So it's not surprising that December 10th, 1869, Wyoming became the first state to allow women to vote. Prostitutes virtually won all the freedoms that were denied to women that are now taken for granted. So let's fast forward to 2017, where we spend almost $1 billion a year promoting stigma and violence against sex workers to ensure their status as a person remains criminalized. The government spends a lot of your tax dollars publishing false statistics and propaganda about sex workers, which are also reinforced by law enforcement. What Rhode Islanders and our legislators and our community understands is that sex work is more complicated than many might imagine. It's different than sex trafficking. And an ongoing study of 62 sex workers in Rhode Island conducted by Coyote and the Center for Study in Slavery and Justice at Brown University, our goal was to measure the effects of the 2009 decision to return to the criminalized codes in Rhode Island. The research was the only IR-approved research ever in Rhode Island of sex workers. Our findings revealed 11% of Rhode Island sex workers reported being sexually assaulted by police officers, 15% reported being robbed or assaulted by police officers. 77% of sex workers reported that they had been victims or witnesses of a crime they did not report to police. 4% reported being arrested while trying to report a crime. 26% were threatened while trying to report a crime. 65% said they would not report violence or a crime to the police for fear of arrest. And nearly 15% had been to grad school. These insights into sex work in Rhode Island revealed that they're not simply desperate victims of evil traffickers. For many, sex work is an important form of work that allows them to put food on the table. What's more, rescue attempts makes matters worse. In October 2016, there was an awards ceremony for the police. And one of the things highlighted was their kindness and community policing. Among the achievements highlighted by the ceremony was the crackdown on 15 massage parlors, where the police said were fronts for $1 million sex trafficking operations. What these accounts of kindness fail to mention is these 15 spas were run by small groups of immigrant women who worked together and shared space to ensure their safety. Shutting down these spas did not result to more safety for these women, but instead isolation, marginalization, and deportation. The research is innovative because it asks sex workers as opposed to the majority, which has found the one case of exceptional victimhood, and it's used to stand in for fundraising policies and to solicit funding from our legislatures. This phenomenal state violence towards sex workers designed as rescue is not unique. Last year, in the wake of human trafficking sting in Cranston that led to the arrest of 31 people, 14 which were clients, the ACLU published a statement to condemn the operation for having little to do with trafficking and a lot to do with embarrassing and penalizing consenting adults who engaged in sex conduct for a fee. The ACLU statement contended that operations in the name of saving and helping victims of sex trafficking have the major effect of stigmatizing sex workers and making their lives more precarious, echoing the concerns that sex workers have been vocal about for years. The criminalization of sex work in Rhode Island is now with the efforts to combat human trafficking. Sex workers and sex trafficking cannot be viewed as equivalent. One of these effects is that sex worker voices are not included. In fact, participation as sex worker could be the best tool we have to combat human trafficking. Human trafficking is legally defined using force, coercion, or fraud or involving someone under 18. This widespread notion that the only way to prevent sexual exploitation is through arrest is the core of the efforts to prevent human trafficking in the United States, and Rhode Island is no exception. These efforts rely heavily on the pimp narrative, which assumes sex worker is exploitive and that no individual will enter the sex industry without being coerced or deceived by a pimp. Discourse around sex trafficking in Rhode Island mirror those at a national and international level, and it conflates sex trafficking with sex work. This has resulted in introduction of laws that punish sex workers, immigrants, in the name of rescue. Handcuffs are never rescue. Our legislators have ignored economic inequality, systematic oppression, and that excludes sex workers from having any input in legislation that directly affects their lives. They also ignore the fact that they have failed to create a safety net for our youth, which is necessary if we want to keep minors out of the sex industry. As of 2016, Rhode Island had 320 unlicensed foster homes. Policing adults and their clients is an irresponsible response to Rhode Island's runaway youth and throwaway youth program. It does nothing to support our youth, nor does it promote the health and safety of sex workers. So to sum it up, let's remember what Janet Mock says, there are no throwaway people. Rise up, Rhode Island. Thank you.
On behalf of all of the organizers, the marshals here at the park rangers here at this beautiful location, all of us are so grateful that you came out today to be heard. We will hope to see you again. If you haven't signed our mailing list, please do that. Events are going to be ongoing. There's hearings at the State House, lots to do. Hope you'll stay engaged. Thank you so much, Rhode Island. Rise up!